really difficult times is dangerous, isn't it? Because it implies in some way this whole long period of difficulty or challenge. And as we are trying to learn, as we practice with rain, and as we investigate our experience, I'm just hesitating because I had to just do a little bit. Okay, let's see if it picks up. As we investigate our experience, is that life is only arising and passing moment by moment. And so difficult times imply something, doesn't it? Which is this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment, and actually closes us, solidifies the reality in a way that says this whole thing, whatever its measure, is now difficult. And it's just not true. It is not the truth. What is true is not knowing like this, not liking like this, and then we wake up to the next moment and see if we can't be as present to this one, no matter our preference, as the last one, and see if we can't notice its shifts, change, its flow, its ever appearing and disappearing reality. And it's the work, isn't it? Our mindful work is, in fact, to come to know life in this kind of intimacy, with this kind of friendliness. And has anybody noticed yet it takes practice? Yeah, yes, you have. You have noticed that particularly in the reactive moments of not wanting, not liking, in moments of perceived experienced pain, sorrow, grief, despair, what we sometimes term negative, it's a dangerous word, emotions. It's not true either. That the truth is we can get locked in. And once we lock in, the truth is this is the beginning of suffering. And so we're going to talk about that some more. Thank you. I'm so grateful to have this on rainy, cold days when we're just learning how to get up a little bit for the spring, awakening a little bit early. And so today we're going to begin with that Danna Faulds poem, Allow. And I really want you to listen to it. I'm going to ask Greg to read it twice loudly so that those who are on Zoom can hear it also. But I really want you to pay attention to what it's actually offering us in the way of instruction. So rather than think about it as a poem, I'd like you to think about it as basic instruction for the practice today. And then we'll go forward from there. So here's Greg. I wish I could turn the, maybe we could, Greg. There he is. All right, Greg. I'm going to ring the bell. We're going to go right into sitting after that. And see if we can't hear what the instruction is. I'll repeat some of them after Greg reads this twice. May this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere without exception. All beings and all things. May we be free from suffering and have the causes and conditions for true happiness.
Allow. There is no controlling life. Try controlling a lightning bolt containing a tornado. Dam a stream and create a new channel. Resist and the tide will sweep you off your feet. Allow and grace will carry you to higher ground. The only safety lies in letting it all in. The wild and the weak, fear, fantasies, failures, and success. When loss rips off the doors of the heart or sadness veils your vision with despair, practice becomes simply bearing the truth. In the choice to let go of your known way of being, the whole world is revealed to your eyes. So once again, There is no controlling life. Try corralling a lightning bolt containing a tornado. Dam a stream and it will create a new channel. Resist and the tide will sweep you off your feet. Allow and grace will carry you to higher ground. The only safety lies in letting it all in. The wild and the weak, fear, fantasies, failures, and success. When loss rips haunts the doors of the heart, where sadness veils your vision with despair, practice becomes simply bearing the truth. And the choice to let go of your known way of being, the whole world is revealed to your eyes.
And so as we prepare to sit, just seeing if we can bear witness, breathing into this experience of the body exactly as it is. Seeing what the impact of that truth, how it merges with the reality of your being, your presence. Seeing if we can simply sit here, silent, bearing witness. This one breath, this one moment, just like this. So it rattles the windows and blows off the doors. Awareness has the capacity to bear it all. How does the body mind right here know this truth? Chogam would say, can we feel the shaky tenderness of the truth of being alive? And can we breathe it in? And so we begin by inclining the mind towards this body sitting here and this breath. Awakening each breath to the truth, beginning with the body, just like this. The essential training is right here. Opening with new eyes each breath. And it is no small thing. It requires a certain fearlessness, an infinite courage, because it cannot be known before it is experienced. And so we begin in the shallow water of stillness and silence. Breathing and being awake. Riding the wave of the out breath, seeing if you can begin to soften into life. And as we turn the attention gently towards the breath, breath by breath, this is also the training. Can we be with the breath exactly as it is, just like this? Cultivating an openness and allowing, investigating. How is the breath just now? Recognizing the breath as the breath. knowing the breath from the not breath, from the mind that wanders off into thoughts, sensations, sounds, storylines, emotions, and without judgment, without any criticisms, condemning. We smile at the recognition and then just unhook and come right back to the breath. Can we just be in the body, this body, breathing, knowing something about it? And in this essential practice, we don't try to change how things are. We just try to know them. Tight like this, gripped like this. Noticing maybe that tender queasiness. Knowing, recognizing, and then allowing. Staying close. And in this very way, we're working directly against the habit mind, which touches in, doesn't like, bored, confused, disinterested, busy, whatever it's doing, and then shoots off brain to stay. And once we have stabilized and centered the mind a bit, riding the waves of the in-breath and the out-breath, we can begin to open and apply the RAIN acronym to other experience. And so then we could call to mind a particular moment, maybe something that's been a little vivid for us this week. See if you can construct a little image. It doesn't have to be any horrific event, just something that's here. Something to work with. And as we're reviving this experience, see if you can recollect how it's feeling. How is the body? See if you can notice particular thoughts. Maybe the vividness was in a particular emotion. But you can pick whichever element of that seems most potent for you. And then with intention, inclining the mind towards that field, the field of the body and body sensations, the field of the mind with thoughts, particular mind states, maybe the field of emotions and feelings. Just pick one. Staying in contact with the breath, using the out breath itself as the anchor to the present moment and one's embodied presence. And then we begin with the R in rain, that recognition, that turning towards an opening, and then naming, labeling, noticing what is arising. Stay in contact with the experience as best you can. Don't label and leave, but note gently and then open further. What is this experience like? How has it felt in this body? What happens to the breath as I touch into this moment? Does it shorten? Does it tighten? Does the body contract? Do we get restless, sleepy? Noticing. And rather than assess, evaluate, criticize, judge, we're simply bringing that witness, seeing how things are, recollecting this moment right here in the body. And after we offer a name, a label, maybe it's despair, confusion, anger, upset, whatever the name, then we simply breathe in and allow. There's nothing to get rid of and nothing to cling to. Just making contact with the experience breath by breath. Watching, experiencing. knowing by body, by mind, and my heart how this is. Once we recognize a name and then turn towards and allow, we simply abide and investigate for a time. Nowhere else to go. We're just going to stay in contact, noticing the ever-present change and flux of experience. I believe at the beginning of the practice, it's usually a little bit easiest to stay in the direct body experience. This allows us to anchor to experience rising and passing rather than get caught in the storyline about the experience, the liking and the not liking, the wanting and the not wanting, and all of the opinions and belief thoughts we have about it and about us. Just holding the experience and staying present as best we can, at least first, in the body. We can recognize, allow, and investigate sensations. You can even gently note them. Tight, gripped, hot, released, whatever is present. And then we can open and include the mind states, maybe particular thoughts, but simply noting them and knowing them as thoughts. Maybe you're noticing particular weather of the mind, maybe open and light, present, maybe contracted, distracted. Seeing what you notice. You can once again name and notice, allowing things to be as they are. Investigate with interest, with an essential friendliness. What is this? And if at any time you get lost in the cascade of thoughts, buying in, believing, you can simply unhook and come back to rest in the body and breath. Once again, stabilizing, calming. And then when you're ready, you can open and begin again. With each breath, we are bringing the bright light, the open space of awareness, this boundless capacity that has the ability to hold, to know everything without being caught in it. Recognizing body sensations as body sensations. Recognizing thoughts as thoughts and particular mind states as mind states. Not mistaking it for permanent, for fixed, for me. And just as we investigate body sensations and thoughts, we can do the same with particular emotions. We can drop back in, feel into the heart space, feel into the body. Notice what particular emotions or feelings are present there. And we can offer the RAIN method once again to emotions, recognizing the experience, the emotion, the feeling, and offering a name. Doubt, anger, fear, frustration, annoyance, sadness, whatever it is. And as we offer it a name, see if we can allow it, rather than judging it and pushing it away or shoving it under, cutting it off. Letting the experience be as it is. Anger like this. Sadness like this. Not knowing like this. Fear like this. Giving it a name and then dropping back into the body breath with allowing and with interest. the very willingness to stay, a radical act of fearlessness and of love. Seeing what needs to be seen. Coming to know, breath by breath, what needs to be known. And then we can open to the whole experience, the body, the mind, and the heart as it is. Just breathing in, recognizing, allowing, bringing interest, curiosity, and care. Remembering that this experience, however it is not me. It is an arising constellation of aggregates, and they're coming and going. And the end also allows for this nourishing, this nurturing. And so we can take one or both of our hands and then place it once again in the area of the heart space. Holding ourselves in this experience exactly as we are, exactly as it is. Feeling that shaky tenderness, that openness, that tightness or ease, whatever's here. Recognizing this is a moment of challenge, of difficulty, maybe a moment of suffering. Allowing, remembering that this is part of the human experience. I and others just like me, feel this too. Breathing in and breathing out. Allowing. And this very willingness to stay invites a certain inquiry, investigation, and interest. Beginning again each breath with those new eyes. How is it just now? And then offering ourselves whatever is most needed. This is where we apply the skillful means. We can always begin with phrases of soothing, of loving kindness, of compassion and care. Dear one, I am here with you. I will not abandon you through distraction or denial. May I remember who I really am, capable of holding this experience in the bright, shining light of awareness, in the warmth of compassion and companionship. May I be happy and have the causes and conditions for true happiness. May I be free from fear, from harm, from affliction and all danger. May I have ease and well-being, remembering the preciousness of this human life. May I rest in the great arms of equanimity, free from greed, hatred, and delusion. Free. And then releasing your hands if you choose, or keeping them there if that feels best. Just breathing into the heart space, offering those blessings. Letting go of the image, the storyline. Just finding one's way back to the simplicity, the anchor of the breath. May we all be happy. May we all be free. May we all have peace. May we all be well, and all manner of things be well. I think I might have done the wrong thing. Heard that go off again. Let's try it. So this is our second week on awakening joy in a difficult moment. And I wanted to check in with you here and see if you've noticed how mindfulness, this recognition, this interest, this staying with attention and open-heartedness, how essential it is to working with whatever comes, right? And how when we're in a moment of suffering, how just the willingness, rather than do some of our old habits, right? To get out of it, to shove it down, to get busy, whatever we've developed in the way of getting away from life and experience. That when really we are willing, with a lot of courage, really, and this is why we offer a method, to turn towards it, to really move closer to oneself. And then to stay really is the beginning of unbinding us, untangling. These are the words, unstaining us from suffering. So does anybody notice this kind of cultivation of, as I'm willing to kind of go more towards than away, how things are once you offer that first to yourself?
It's pretty scary because, like, so it's like, I really want to go there.
Yeah.
This yin and yang, this
Yeah. A little contracting and expanding, right? What do you suppose we don't trust? Dennis says, no, it takes a lot of trust. Trust in what? That you're going to be okay, that you can do it, that you've got what it takes, that you're capable.
It's not going in, not able to come out.
Yeah, that you're going to get lost in there, right? This is a part of our fear, right? That it's going to be too big, too dark, too much, too hard. This is a part of our storyline. Anybody else have a favorite two? Two. Yeah. 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 Right.
I find it very hard to trust that, because I know I'm not going to find a solution. So what good is it going to do?
That's the belief thought.
Yeah,
There's no way to work this out. It's immoral.
well, it'll be what it is, you know.
And I don't like that.
Well, it's not great.
Yeah.
but if I
Whatever it is, we don't like it.
but feeling better about it, will that make any difference? That's the thing. It's not going to solve the problem to feel calmer or feel better about it. So what difference will that make? That's kind of the thing I don't trust.
Is that true? That actually feeling differently about it doesn't change it? And then one's relationship to it? And then however we respond. In fact, it is true that the fear-based, reactive, aversion mind has no solution. That's true. Has no way of relating, by the way. That's true. That is true. And what's also as true, and I know this for sure, so I can offer it to you without condition, is that the mind that can be with it can find the way. Now, I don't think it means it just all goes the way you want, though. I agree. It's true. But as Ezra says, by the very being, we can heal, even if there is no cure. Do you know the difference? We can heal it, even if there is no cure. So it's true. It doesn't mean that all the circumstance changes. That's not wrong, right? We are in this limited human body, right? Whatever the perspective, there's a reality to it, isn't there? But the way we are with it, in fact, is what the cause of suffering is, not the fact. The way we are with it, then. Is that right? Do we know this, anyone? Yeah. And it doesn't mean accept, meaning passivity. That's not what we mean by accept. Somebody asked me about this. So you just sit there and let the wrong thing happen? No, that's not what we mean by accept. We mean accept the fact that it is here and it's arising, so that we can then inquire further. We can investigate more. We can bring caring, kind, compassionate attention to see what then can, skillful means, what can then be done, what can then be offered. Not to go, oh, well, too bad. That's not the point. But it does mean that we have to begin where we are, doesn't it? And it is, we have a terrific resistance. And it's okay. It's just good to know it, isn't it? We could name that too, couldn't we? Resistance. Not wanting, not liking, being afraid it's going to suck me under, and that it is bigger than me, and it can't be bigger than you. This is actually the truth.
It's just all of the times that have gone through the same reactivity. The reactivity, yeah, I see that And this idea of the compassion for it, to sort of understand that there's this reactivity in me, and to be able to see that with compassion is just really the difference. There's a perspective that helps a lot.
Yes.
Oh, damn, there I go again, and get down on myself.
Yes. Yes.
But it may take 10,000 times.
Maybe it does. Maybe it's not a maybe. Maybe 10,000 faces, right? To know, to have something be known 10,000 times, right? And our impatience, our judgment, what else gets in the way? Our not wanting it. Like, can't you just see it once and have it be gone? I've navigated that a lot of times. Okay, are ready. I see it. Well, I need to see it some more in its arising and in its passing, and then see it, know it like that, and then know it in its slightly rotated version. No rage like this, no rage like that. And there is a little section in chapter 4, working with difficult times, and it is about skillful means in relationship to the intractable, right? There's a little waiver in there that says, now wait a minute, if you're drowning regularly with making contact with something, you might need to become more skillful and get extra support, right? That it may not be best to just go, I have to just stay and hammer in, and it doesn't mean you abandon the practice, but it also means you are deserving of additional supports. And so for me, sometimes therapy is useful. Sometimes medication is a benefit. Sometimes the Buddha himself said, forgetfulness and inattention is sometimes the way. Isn't that beautiful? Sometimes forgetfulness, it actually uses that word, and inattention, like not right now, not this moment, like rather than stay lost in the right kind of repetitive storyline, like let's just say not now, redirect one's attention to something that can offer energy or uplift or hope or whatever might be skillful. Right? So we have all of that and the infinite others that you have all discovered in these difficult times. No one should stay mired in suffering because, Diana said, you stay and you just stay and you just stay no matter what. You stay until when? Until you really can't be there anymore because there is something. There's tired enough, hungry enough, lonely enough, right? Lost or caught enough to be skillful and say, let's take a break. And you can do that not only in life, but right in the middle of the practice, can't you? You can say, really, I'm just going to come back to the breath. I'm going to rest here. I'm going to open to sound. I'm going to just place the attention and rest there. I'm going to recollect a blessing, a kindness, a moment of compassion. Right? Me as the giver or the receiver, as a way of just anchoring in the larger whole, the larger reality of this life, and not get lost in the dark tunnel of that this is just all there is in this world, because it is not true. And it is true that it is also in its arising. It is also here. Right? So we don't lie and go, let's just look at the light. Right? Let's hold it all. Can we hold the whole of this human life in our experience? And the answer definitively is yes. And we can eliminate in this training the resistance that causes the suffering. The resistance that causes the suffering, not the experience. Do you know what I mean when I say that? Yeah. And this doesn't mean denying the pain of this human life. There will be loss, there will be illness, aging, and death, right? These are the first teachings to say we have to know these things to be true because they are a part of this human experience, right? We don't deny them, we don't run the other way, we don't just, and, not but, and we can come to form kind, caring, and compassionate relationship to ourselves in that pain and to others in that pain, and not cause all the suffering that is the result of the running the other way, the pushing up against it as if it weren't true, the denial, the distraction, the aversion that we bring. And we get to do so simply in a few breaths. We don't have to choke on it. It's not required. Can I, for these few breaths, be here with this? And we're not always this kind, are we? It's like I've got to muscle through. But I would say start with 3 to 5 breaths and then decide. How is it now? Can I still be here? Is this still workable? And then we take 3 or 5 more, or we don't. Or we don't. And the skillful means are not defined or decided by anyone but you. You know best. Can I work with this? Is this workable? Can I breathe? So I use the breath so immediately because I contract. And so if I know I'm in too much of a contraction, I can barely breathe. And that often means that it's not best timing for me. I might want to take a walk or a break. Just go outside and feel the sun on your face. And then everything becomes workable. Becomes workable.
I've been using this phrase, and this is how this moment.
And this is how this moment is, says Liz. Bowing to the truth of the moment. Yeah. The RAIN acronym and methodology says name it. Name it. Name it and open to it. Sensation like this. Thought like this. That the one who can name it is not the one lost. That the naming itself actually, as we look at the fMRIs, shifts the brain energies from this posterior cingulate, this lizard brain of ours, right up into this anterior. It says, awakened now. Now, it doesn't say, and you will like it. We didn't get that far. It says, and you will know it. And you will know it. And by the very knowing, you can begin to form healthy, healing relationship to it. By the very name. Right? So we know the names of our friends, right? Don't we? You're able to go up and call them by name. And this is a certain intimacy, isn't it? It's a certain friendliness, right? That we can do so. And it works exactly the same in the executive functioning. If we can name it, we can begin to form relationship.
Statement number 563.
And so what have you noticed about this? How are you working with, let's say some ways we are working with this particular acronym of RAIN. It's something we're going to keep holding on to. Have you found a way that says, I remember like this? I have a phrase I repeat. It kind of wakens me up, gets me present.
So I've been doing it in meditation, and the thing that has been very useful for me is naming the emotions. And lot more of them than I was expecting
Yeah.
about anything. It's very, I think that's why there's a part of me that just feels like, oh, it's complicated. No, it's not complicated. It's because there's this illusion, there's that, there's that, there's but that's been very interesting to see actually what is actually happening in the
Anybody else notice that this one experience, this named experience, maybe a breath, maybe 10, maybe whatever, but it's changing? Hopefully everybody's caught that. And that it changes not only in itself, but it changes into something, right? And so often for me, I notice that my anger turns into a certain kind of fear, which turns into a certain pain that I don't really want, or don't really feel like feeling, or want to push away or avoid or do whatever. But I often notice this similar process. When I'm angry, if I stay, I notice there's a threat there in some way. If I stay with the threat, I acknowledge that there's a fear there. As I stay close to the fear, just honoring and allowing the fear to be there, I often see that it's fear of some distress, fear of some pain, fear of some loss.
That's what I noticed. Fear. Get right into the fear.
Yep. And as you get to know it, what can you do? You can just sort of say, where might there be? Right? And you can open the door to that instead of staying lost in the storyline of anger, for example, right? Which is intractable and doesn't have an exit door in anger. It just, and then we justify, and then we can get righteous, and then we can say how it shouldn't, it wouldn't, it couldn't, right? But actually, as we open from that anger, let's say, into fear, there's a kind of opening, an opportunity to claim our vulnerability and our humanness. And from that, we can even soften more as the fear begins to dissolve.
I was noticing, it's coming up for me this last week, was more relentless. That was something that was what I thought was. It was just, you use the word intractable, but it felt relentless.
Yeah. It starts to look like a monster, doesn't it? It can look like a monster. What we have to remember there, which it's an opportunity at least, is to remember that in fact its intractability is something in us. And I always try to come back home to that, which is if it's just spinning around like, and it looks like this, and then it's getting more like this, and then it's even worse like this, and then it's, that there's some part of the storytelling mind in me holding experience solid, or holding it as me, or holding it as horrible, or holding it in some way. So if you notice that it just keeps looking like it's looping, it is, and that's some quality of your mind, holding it tight like this. Because what did we say about all experience, including the breath itself? Different, changing, coming and going every moment. Nothing is different than this. Nothing. Not fear, not pain, not sensation. Right? So when we're teaching people how to be with chronic pain and how to work with it, what we try to help them, what's different about it right now, this breath? And then what's different about it right now, this breath? We really teach intensive, and now. And well, hot how? Give it a number. Tight how? Give it a number, right? Now we're noticing everything in its continual flux and change. This is the beginning of our recognizing what? Everything. Everything. And it's arising and passing. And the truth of our nature is once we see a monster, we set it right there, right next to us, or even right in here. This is another favorite activity. Me, horrible like this. Me, not workable like this. And we keep it solid. And not only do we keep it, we begin to identify with it. Me, like this angry me. Right? You notice this part of me that's unworkable. And the rain applies here too. Can I name it? What is this? Believe thought. There is a conversation in, and it's not me. Hello?
Did it go away?
Hello?
Stay in your head?
Now, there's sounds. I think I did. Oh, that is just right.
There was one person that was not muted.
Oh, that's just fabulous. Couldn't be more perfect. Right? We named delusion as delusion. The delusion that it's going to be just like this, or it's going to stay like this, right? It's very important to call that out. It's a number one hindrance. That this is fixed, solid, stuck. It's permanent. That's number one. What's another hindrance that gets in the way of the movement, the viability, the workability of brain? I'm not going to get what I want. This is going to go some cattywampus other way, and I don't want that. So I have to stay here. I have to grab it like this. I gotta win or work it like this. Guaranteed suffering. Guaranteed. Why? We don't know anything. The outcome is ultimately unknown. We can name this too as outcome focused, results oriented, wanting it my way or wanting it a certain way. This is helpful because we can then even name the obscuration, the hindrance. I want it a certain way. So until they apologize, I have said this. Yes, I have. It's been stupid and crazy, but I have. Yeah, until that, I'm hanging on. I'm hanging on, causing what? My suffering. Right, my suffering. Like swallowing that poison pill and hoping the other will die. That's what we do as we grip and hold it. Right, what else?
There's also that if I don't know how to change it, then it's not going to
It can't change. Here's the I making. If I don't know now, if I don't see the solution today, there isn't one. And that we buy in, don't we? We all do this. We believe it's true. If it's this way today, it's staying. And then if I can't change it today, it means there's nothing to do. That there's no way to be with this, work with this, or heal this.
Okay, so I technically challenged it for a long time. Twice. But I am still completely, almost incapable of doing something, technical. And yet, I still, sure, I'll give it another shot.
Yeah. Try again.
No.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
It cuts my head off.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I say, yeah, well, you know what? You are. You don't have to walk away.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, seriously walk away.
Yeah. You don't have to do this to yourself.
I haven't done it this way, or maybe I can try it this way.
Yeah.
It only took, about 2 decades to figure that one out.
Yeah.
I guess they haven't quite, but it had to be demonstrated.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the application of the skillful with what might be true. And so we do this to children in schools, by the way, and it makes me sad and crazy. And what we do to them is go, you just have to sit there because that's the way people learn, and don't get up. And then just open your eyes and open your ears and then just sit there some more. And eventually, if we keep you sitting there, this will work out. And actually, we have a lot of evidence that it doesn't work like that. But that's just grabbing the idea called we can do anything always. And it's not true either, isn't it? This happens also for people with illness that go, if I work on it hard enough, if I try hard enough, if I have a positive attitude, if I eat avocado, then I can survive. Well, I'm not going to say those things aren't helpful. That's not my point. And the point is this body, there is a reality here, and the reality is what? It is going to change. And it's going to change enough that as we know it in its aliveness, it's not going to remain this way. And isn't it true? Right? And sometimes it's skillful to say, I don't have to kill myself. I don't have to beat myself up with the truth that I cannot change. Right? I can just be honoring, at least begin there, and then decide how to be skillful.
2 hours.
Yeah. Right? Instead of 20 years. Like there's an amount of time. Can I be skillful? And this is that go to get the resources, supports, right, that we all need and deserve. It doesn't mean you have to do everything by yourself. It's not true anyway. You're not actually doing anything by yourself. It's a joke. And that's that me making, right? I gotta. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it's better to open to me and all those others just like me who don't know how to do this. And then what can we offer? Whatever the conducive supports might be, which is why we get to take breaks, why we get to get help, why we get to use the resources we need, right? I just said to my husband, so sorry, dear, I'm doing it to you again. I just said to my husband yesterday, yes, we're going to get a plasterer and a painter for the house because I don't want it to go for another year with half of it plastered and half of it not painted. And he finally, I could see him getting ready. I was like, don't do it. And he went, okay. Finally, okay. It's okay. He knows how to do it. He's masterful. But he doesn't have to do everything, does he? This is not required to be good enough, is it? To do everything always, even when you know how. By the way, right? Even when you know how. Maybe it's more skillful to actually say, not now, not this, right? And that we can be kind to ourselves. This is what Mike's talking about, an essential kindness. To say, I do not have to simply suffer this. I can access the truth and the supports that then come from it. This is how we get skillful. Skillful cannot occur if we don't begin with whatever the truth might be, right? Which is I want and need. I'm deserving of certain supports. This is also a radical act of kindness and compassion, isn't it? To reach out, the very reaching out, to say that this might be true, offering us a whole different perspective in space.
I heard this great podcast yesterday. This woman's written a book. And she's in chronic pain. And it was just amazing because clearly some place along the line she got clear that the response was not that to try to make this go away because it wasn't going to go away.
Right.
But she has developed like this whole set of skillful means of allowing it, managing it, being with it. And she talked a lot about that in that. I was like, oh, wow, that's, so sometimes the response is not solving the problem.
Not by yourself. And it doesn't, like I said, we have to begin without an outcome. And this is a little scary too, isn't it? To say, I don't know the result, but I can know now. And I can open now to what is most true now. And we don't like that either. We tend to begin, as I began this practice 25 years ago, with an outcome. I started with because I plan not to be in suffering. That would be me. And whatever I got to do to get out of that, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going around. And I used the practice for a long time until I woke up to that, like that, like get me out of the truth of this human experience. And it was not the way. And of course, eventually, as you stay, you begin to see this is not the way. Can I open to what is here with some kind of friendliness, with some kind of kindness and care towards myself and others? I have only 3 more minutes, so Dennis, can we be quick?
I really don't know what's going to happen. And that if I just allow it to happen, a lot of times I'm just, where did that come from?
Yes.
It's just like, whoa.
Yes. Just being where we are, in the shot we're in, right? As best we can. So this week's practice is going to be the rain and self-compassion practice. Now there's a few versions of it on the website. And reading chapter 5, if you have the book, which is the bliss of blamelessness. The bliss of blamelessness. That once we open the door to things being as they are, without blame, without judgment, without recrimination, condemnation, and aggression, we can begin to become closer to seeing what's workable, what's possible, what's malleable, what's movable and changeable. And we're going to investigate that next week. So chapter 5 in Awakening Joy, the bliss of blamelessness. I'll put up some notes there for you if you don't have the book. And we're just going to keep the practices going. After we ring the bell, would everyone come and get your responses, your letters? And look forward to seeing you next week. Feedback to everyone. Thank you so much for this beautiful work we're all doing. Let's just take a moment together. And you notice as we begin to incline the mind back towards the body and breath, there's just a natural cleansing breath. It's sort of like, yeah, that's right, back home, back here. And then we open and include however we are right now. This is not a practice of rejecting, refusing, denying, or avoiding. And neither is it shove it down your throat, slam it in your face. We can, with a certain kindness, take it one breath at a time. And I happen to know this to be true. And so I'll offer it to you. Everything is workable one breath at a time. May our practice today contribute that our intentions and aspirations for joy, for ease, for well-being, for healing, that they may be realized. So be it. Thank you. Thank you all. Let's watch for these opportunities for skillful means this week. What is needed now? What is needed now? Thank you, everyone. Please come get your